and we're gonna hit the button right now, and we are live, guys. So, guys, welcome back to another episode of Box Mining Live here. Today, we have a fireside chat with one of my good friends, Jeff Kirdeikis, the CEO of TrustSwap. He has been doing some crazy ass stuff with TrustSwap Launchpad. A lot's going on. But before we even talk about that, I definitely want to catch up with a lot about that's happening on the news front. We always do these fireside chats once in a while with Jeff to find out what's going on, to talk, just comment on some of the news updates, some of maybe your concerns as well. This is a live stream, so if you guys have any concerns, any topics floating in, we also have quite a lot of news. I mean, I'm sure there's a giant smile on everyone's faces when Elon Musk announced he's going to accept Bitcoin for Teslas in the future. So let's start. I guess we can start off with that. I guess Jeff, let's start off with how are you? How are you doing, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm doing great. The market is an intense one right now. I think things are evolving immensely rapidly.
Yes.
So it's keeping me busy. I know you're busy too. We were chatting just before the stream about how busy we are, what we're working on. So it definitely feels like kind of like just that big, it feels like, I don't know, a marathon, but at the same time a sprint. It's like trying to sprint for an entire marathon right now is what it feels like. So I'm trying to keep well, try to stay active outside and stuff, but keep the balanced life. But it's difficult at times when the market's this wild. So anyways, yeah, good to be catching up. And I agree, man. This Elon Musk thing, I was going to be going to bed because obviously, this stream was happening. And then Elon Musk at like 1 a.m. or something, he's like, you can now accept Bitcoin, we accept Bitcoin for Tesla. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not getting much sleep tonight.
and not only are you gonna not only is he accepting Bitcoin, I guess we kind of saw that coming, but he's gonna keep that Bitcoin too. He's not just gonna accept it as a method of payment, but he's like, you send him Bitcoin, he's gonna keep that Bitcoin, right? I think that's a big game changer. Like that's crazy, right? So I don't know. What do you think, man?
It establishes not only Bitcoin as a payment currency for large transactions like this, because people say, oh, it's not a coffee buying currency. And, to a lot of extent, I agree with that. But for large transactions like this, it's really planting a flag down, saying Bitcoin is a viable global currency for this. And then, so that's already huge in itself, because, then you start to think, okay, well, where is this going to expand into? Tesla is a lot of times the first mover in innovative spaces, by putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet, now accepting Bitcoin. And like you said, man, I think people are really underplaying kind of how crazy it is that they aren't selling their Bitcoin. Like crazy in a good way, because the cost fiat to make these cars, they're not selling their Bitcoin for it. Like there's real production costs, real overhead. And they're like, we're just going to eat it. We're going to eat the costs and we're going to stack Bitcoin, because this is like there were seasoned financial veterans in a room and they're discussing this and they're like, yeah, this makes sense. We're just gonna stack Bitcoin. It's unbelievable.
I think
what do you think? What are your thoughts?
I think this would have been unimaginable. I've been in the space for too long, so I get super jaded, right? I mean, coming from 2012, I think there were so many dreamers out there, and I'm like, you dream on, big institutions buying crypto, dream on, idiot. I've been very skeptical from the start, right? And then you kind of see the momentum. I think that was kind of the turning point for me was 2016, and I was like, inside, I was like, keep my hopes low. Right, because you won't be disappointed. I think there was a lot of one day there's these dreams. One day, we can buy a Tesla with a Bitcoin, and we finally see that day. I mean, how cool is that, right? And I think this would have definitely been something that people were like. I would have said this is like a wild dream back in 2017, but it is happening today, and I think that's awesome. And I think that distinction is also important. Like you said, they have to have real fiat costs to produce these cars. I have no idea how Elon convinces board members to board members to execute this plan. We were all kind of surprised, right? Elon could have done this.
Elon does crazy stuff. Like, did you hear about the story about what he did with the rocket? So he saw the rocket and he looked at the cone and he said, because of the movie The Dictator with Sacha Baron Cohen, I think in that movie, Sacha Baron Cohen, he's like, it should be pointier. And so he was like, he went to the rocket, saw the nose cone on his rocket, and he says, it should be pointier as a joke. And then they did it. They actually did it. And he talks about this on Joe Rogan. So, I mean, the guy he's unbelievable. He's one of the best, because Tesla doesn't spend any money on marketing, but they
No.
just do these initiatives like this that are just
Yeah.
so genius and well hilarious or innovative. And so I think
Mm.
that's why they're just absolutely number one. Like I think it's all the other car companies market cap combined don't even make up the same as Tesla's. I think that's the current stat right now.
It's insane how much this is valued. But I definitely feel um, like that certain innovation is necessary in this world right now, and I think a lot of people, and I think it targets a lot of people too. I think a lot of people who made Bitcoin, they don't want to go through the process of going to Coinbase, cashing that out, and like filling a
Yeah.
bunch of like stuff.
Yeah.
It should be used as currency, right? Like that
Yes.
was the original purpose. And with
Yes.
Tesla setting the pace forward for this, I feel like this is the interesting about Tesla too. Like once Tesla does this, there's like a million copycats are willing to do this too, right?
Yes.
We immediately saw the Chinese company Meitu. So Meitu is the one that you can beautify your face to make yourself look super hot. It's a publicly listed company in China. They
Do you have that
also
filter on right now?
um, you know me, man. There's nothing that can save this face. I'm the most punchable face on YouTube. No amount of Meitu can save my face. But that being said, I think like Meitu immediately bought Bitcoin after Elon bought it, right? Because it's so hot in China right now. Like that made Chinese news, that made Chinese media that Tesla is doing this, and all these Chinese companies are now just scrambling to say, okay, how do I buy Bitcoin right now, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like Meitu bought it, okay, now everyone else has to buy it. Now that Elon's accepting Bitcoin, there is a distinction though. I think in China they probably won't allow the acceptance of Bitcoin. That's actually legally not possible. But I think we're paving the way towards that. And even following not just Elon's suit, but like we also seen a lot of companies, like not just companies, countries, they're looking to hold Bitcoin as well. I mean, I think Italy, they're passing a parliamentary decision to actually kind of modify so to allow the government to hold some form of digital currencies as well. So I feel like this is unimaginable. So yeah, guys, if you guys are coming to the channel, I know this is like a kind of a surprise live stream. Just smash up those likes. It really does help the channel, guys. Smash up those likes, share it as well. We're going to discuss a lot of things that's going on. We're also reading up the comments. So yeah, thank you for our support, jet lag. Guys, smash up those likes. And Angela one says Elon is just gonna backhoe sucking up all our BTC. I mean, that's great for him too, right? Because he's thinking about the long term. I think that's where he's at, because there's no other way. There's no other way that I can convince board members. He's not going to speculate this on an hourly trading candles. This is a long-term hodl.
Yeah. And I find it so different now, only 3 years later from the big run in 2017, because in 2017, I felt like there was a lot of indecisiveness on, how sustainable this cryptocurrency idea was, is it going to be around? And even like if you rewind further, like back in the 2014 days, like everyone was like, okay, this is an experiment. Let's see how it goes. And now it's no longer an experiment. I feel like now I think people really feel and understand that not only Bitcoin, but blockchain and decentralized technologies are not going anywhere.
No.
And now the question has become, how big are they going to get?
Yes.
And so when you look at something like Bitcoin, there's even real, like people who are managing monetary policies for countries are talking about Bitcoin as a viable alternative and store value and hedge against inflation. That's staggering. And so I think people don't really realize, that they, I'm late, it's 50K. Sure, yeah, there's a lot of room between like less than a penny to 50K, but what happened? Like what percentage of people own Bitcoin today? It's probably less than 0.5%.
Yeah. Especially like really own Bitcoin, like not even on your on your exchange account. You gotta, like, if you want to really own Bitcoin, you gotta withdraw that out, put that on a ledger, Trezor, whatever hardware wallet. And I think we're not there yet, but I think like every single year we're making that progress. And I think this cycle has been just crazy, right? And just speaking of this cycle, I mean, I think a lot of people are definitely concerned about, the big question is it too late to get into Bitcoin? I think that's popping up a lot. We've seen, we definitely, it's definitely moved up quite a bit, like that's an understatement. Sure. All right. I mean, I think last year, at exactly precisely this time, we literally saw Bitcoin flash crash to $3,000. Right, like just put that in, like let that sink in. It was like right after coronavirus, people were just like mad panicking on the stock market, right? That feels like the decade ago, but it's only been a year. People
Yeah.
were mad panicking, and there was a flash crash that took Bitcoin down to 3,400. Right now we're at $56,000. I mean, that's just like, it boggles my mind, like, and how people can say, oh, like it dropped like 5% and it's a big dump. No, it's not. Like, look at
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
bigger
Yeah.
scale. But obviously a lot of people are concerned. I mean, people who do look at this at a bigger scale, they're seeing that, the signs of a bubble is coming. Do you think that
Mm.
we're close to the top of the bubble? Are we still on our way there? Where do you think we're at?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd probably preface that by saying, when you zoom out to like a 5-year time horizon, I think it's almost irrelevant. If
Mm,
you're looking at long-term time horizons, getting in Bitcoin 50K, I don't think is that bad of an idea at all. I think it's actually an incredibly wise idea for you look at the USA, how much money they're printing. They just printed 20% of all their currency of since the inception last year alone. And now they're printing more. They have another like $2 trillion stimulus package. So inflation is going crazy and Bitcoin is becoming just really strong in its value
yes.
proposition. So that's a long-winded way of saying, long term, it's very, very, very likely going to keep going up. But if somebody came to me with, like, I only have $10,000 to my name, should I put it all on Bitcoin today? I'd probably be a little bit hesitant because that is quite an aggressive chart that we're looking at right now. Like
Mm,
you mentioned, it just went from 3K to 55K within a year. Um, you know, as much as we love the meme, stocks only go up, they don't.
yeah.
So there will be a correction, and at what time and where does I think a lot of traders use the technique, retracing to the top. So the
Yes.
previous last top would be 20K. So will we see a retrace to 20K? I say the probability is actually, it's there. It's for
It's there.
sure
It is
there.
there. Hmm.
So that's my thoughts in terms of like where the top is. It's tough to say because with NFTs coming in, we're getting a really big new rush of attention towards the crypto space that we never have seen before. So I do see that the new capital is coming in, not just with retail, but definitely with institutions as well. Michael Saylor just threw his meeting for 1,000 different companies to learn how to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So it's for me, it's tough to predict. I think it's wise to be hedged for both, ready to
Yes.
buy the dip when it comes and ready to ride Bitcoin if it continues. What's your strategy? What's your outlook?
So my strategy is always like, I look at my net worth and be like, okay, how much should I allocate to Bitcoin, right? And I think that
Right.
makes a lot more sense than just purely looking at entry and exit points.
Mm,
So I think like at this point, right? Like, yet again, not financial advice, but I think it's unwise not to have any exposure to Bitcoin at this current
right.
point, right? Like, I feel
Yeah.
like with the way the fiat is going down, like it's always important to look at the grand scale of things, right? Fiat is going down, right? Because
Yeah.
there's so much being printed. It's inevitable
Yeah.
at some point we're gonna have massive inflation. That's just a given at this current point. I mean, we don't see it now, but the writing's pretty much on the wall at this current
Yeah.
point. The world's kind of messy too. Like, I wasn't very impressed last year with how the global politics panned out, right? Like, both, not the kind of the rivalry between China and US is not, it's intensifying. These trade wars are getting a little bit stupid, and the really only way to isolate yourself from this whole, political, like the turmoil of the political chaos plus money printing plus whatever's happened in the world, like, instead of getting depressed over it, why not go and exit that, right? You exit that and
Hmm.
enter Bitcoin, right? So I feel like that's
Yeah.
kind of the way I kind of viewed it, is where Bitcoin is now something that I can hold, like, wherever I travel, I can take my Bitcoin with me, so long
Yeah.
as it's stored in a safe place, right? So it's not like something like gold or something like fiat, where the banks can literally exit you. And we've seen that
Yeah.
last year over political reasons in Hong Kong. So, like,
Yeah.
if you say certain things publicly, the banks can choose to exit you for unrelated reasons, but you know
Right.
why, all right? So
Yes.
so I felt like last year there was a point where I said, I'm fed up with politics, right? I'm not gonna Like I know a lot of people, they just shake their fists and say, "Oh, complain, complain, and complain," right? And I feel like that's meaningless. If you're not gonna do something about it, then that's worthless. But I made the decision to exit fiat, right?
Yeah.
That's important for me, right? So exit fiat, have exposure. Obviously, over time, I still have I still diversify a little bit. I'm not gonna be one of those people who say, yeah, I'm only gonna hold crypto. But
Yeah.
I have like some gold. I have some other stuff. Recently I've been talking about property, and we've been exploring the
Mm,
project labs with people where it's like
right.
tokenizing property. But
Right.
but having like looking at it as in like I have a certain amount of portfolio that I want to allocate to Bitcoin, that makes sense to me. So I think that's my kind of my
Yeah.
personal way of taking that.
What's I'm curious, and I'm sure a lot of people listening too are, if for example, in just terms of percentage points, how do you divide up your portfolio in terms of like real estate, gold, or is that you just want to kind of keep that on the down low?
Yeah, I do, but something weird happened too. Because initially the way I kind of viewed this was I have like a Bitcoin. It's like taking up like say Bitcoin a third, Ethereum a third, VeChain was taking my strong hodl, and then I have my kind of
Okay.
like my medium hodl, and I have
Yeah.
my altcoin account, right? So it's like kind of like I'm splitting my brain into three separate segments, right? And
Right.
technically speaking, Bitcoin, Ethereum and VeChain were meant to be the biggest kind of holdings there. But altcoins exploded. I mean, TrustSwap did super well, and so my altcoin portfolio just blossomed, right? So it
Hmm.
became like this ridiculous number that I was like, holy crap! Like I took a look at it today. I'm like, these number references points are no longer valid, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not I at a point I'm like I'm almost like an altcoin maximalist now. I'm like a little bit
We're gonna need a
scared.
bigger ledger.
Holy shit. So yeah, so I mean, obviously that's performed super well. I'm gonna try to rebalance it somehow, but
Uh-huh.
it does go to show that the market's been performing super well, and
Hmm.
so right now crypto's taking up a grand majority. I think it was not the way I designed it a year ago, but I'm pleasantly surprised that this is the case. Right,
Right.
so
Right.
I'm super happy about everything. So I'm very just grateful of everything that's happening. How about you? How about you on your side? How are you managing your treasury? How are you managing your funds? How's everything going? That
For sure, yeah. So I'm not so much actively investing in too many projects, just because my plate is so full.
mm,
Working on TrustSwap lately, so it's really minimalized how much time I have to do the research that I used to be able to do into the projects and do the deep dives, talk to people, check out how things are rolling. So it's mostly been when I've been hopping on for advisory and kind of like business development with other projects.
mm-hmm,
That's kind of
mm-hmm,
when I'm taking positions in different projects because and then holding them long term because well now I can actually help the company move forward and then I see
mm,
how the company's operating and things like this. So that's kind of probably been how I've been rocking with it. I do have a decent amount taken off the table. It is in fiat, because I am, conservatively waiting for a dip.
mm.
If it comes, I'm ready. If it doesn't come, well, that's great news. That's great
Yep,
news.
yep,
So it's
yep.
kind of like a win-win both ways. So
Mm.
yeah, I'm pretty pleased with where I'm at right now. Just a pretty conservative approach. Mhm. But
That makes sense. That makes
yeah,
sense. And I think I wanted to say that too. There's always a stigma of, oh my God, people are selling, and having a certain amount of fiat for runway, it does make a lot of sense. And that's one of the first things I did with box mining when I started box mining too. I quit my fiat job, and I wanted to be able to stay myself, and then creating a runway that can last for a relatively long time if things don't go well. And I think a lot of people don't plan for that. Like people don't. That's usually when people make it to the news, like they're completely broke, they bought Bitcoin, they lost everything, and then now they're crying in a
yeah,
corner and stuff. Like that's usually bad financial management. And in many ways, like I said, like none of this as financial advice, and it makes sense to seek a financial advisor to plan these things out, because there are people who ask me, should I quit my job to go full time into crypto? And the answer is absolutely yes, so long as you can manage your finances, right? Like I like you're full time in the crypto. I'm full time in crypto. I mean, there's without a doubt, like it's something hard. Like it is only for a certain type of people, but if you can do
yes,
it, it's fucking amazing. It is like
yes,
it is like it's beyond amazing. It's beyond crazy. And this is like it's like if you had the time to go back to the internet days, right? With the dot-com boom. If would you quit your job to make a dot-com company during
That's
that
it.
time? Like,
Yeah.
of course. Of
Yes.
course, right? Like like you can find a normal job anytime. But this
Yeah.
type of window only opens up every 10 years, right? I think that's my kind of pitch for everyone. It's like this type of
Yes.
window, like where there's a lot of new technology, like you have a time to really start getting people to adopt, to take on something that only
Yeah.
happens every 10 years, right? We saw that with the dot-com boom. We saw that when the first apps were available, like the first iPhone apps, like when the first iPhone came out and people were making all these like apps for iPhone. That
Yes.
was an opportunity, right? Like you
Yes.
could have made like Temple Run, and you could have made like $1 million per week or some bullshit like that,
Yeah.
right? And now this is the exact same thing. This is a window of opportunity, so long as you can plan for it. Obviously, if you can't, then that's another story. But it's not for
And no,
everyone. But it's go on.
no, and I fully agree with you. And I think you mentioned one phrase that I hear quite a bit is they say, "Oh, I'd be more into it if I had more time." And I think that's kind of the cringiest statement that I ever hear, because people always have time. It's how they prioritize their time, because they don't have time, but they'll watch 2 hours of Netflix, or
Yeah,
on their drive to work they'll listen to music rather
yeah,
than
yeah,
educational
yeah,
material. So it's all
yeah.
creative ways on how you can educate yourself in the space. One of my, because obviously my friends, my family, they've all kind of like been really getting their hands into crypto in a big way, and every single person who has gotten involved, that I am aware of, out of my friends and family, has made more than their annual salary on a multiple in the span of like 6 months. So, obviously this is screaming bear market, but long story short, a lot of people are literally taking breaks from their jobs. There's one
Mm,
guy I know, he's a pharmacist, and he's like, I'm taking a 1 week vacation from my job so that I can exclusively learn crypto. And it's like, that is the greatest thing you can do. You take a hit of
yeah,
whatever X thousand dollars for the week, but now you just completely set yourself up with
mm,
such a strong foundation to be able to now get going.
yes,
And another guy that I kind of want to highlight, he works at, like, just at a car dealership, but he's like, anytime I have a break, I'm just researching, I'm reading white papers, I'm looking at things, I'm getting involved in launchpad projects, whatever launchpad it may be. And he's making way more than his salary at a car dealership. And so these are the things that, I think people just don't realize. It's not like a black or
mm,
white thing necessarily. Like, if there's like, oh, should I quit for crypto? It's like, well, maybe just start reprioritizing your time
yes,
first, and
correct,
then seeing if you
correct,
excel at it. Or,
correct.
I mean, nothing easy, nothing nothing worthwhile comes easy. It takes time.
Correct. And I saw a comment just now from Angela Wang. She says, Jeff talking about spending 2 hours on Netflix is making me feeling personally attacked. I think it's like, like you have your breaks, but there's definitely like low points in your time. Like I remember when I first started box mining, I was doing videos like before I got to work, then after work, and then like, I was
Yeah.
like making and cutting videos up to like 12 p.m. and then releasing them and then doing comments and stuff. Like obviously it's not nice to do it. But I felt like that also created an opportunity. So I guess like just to pull everything back, like obviously I built something for myself before, of course, I quit my job. I'm not saying you should just quit your job
Right.
immediately, but you definitely should get your feet wet. And then when you're ready, I think this is a good opportunity. But beyond that, okay, let's switch topics a bit and NFTs. All right. It's kind of crazy right now. You touched upon that. Large scope of things. Obviously, we've seen these record-breaking sales for it. Um,
hmm
what's your take? What's your take?
It's a mixed bag. It's certainly a mixed bag, and I think I got to be careful with how I'm saying things, because I don't want to paint too broad of a brushstroke. Because I think on one hand, some NFTs are fantastic. They have
Mm,
great utility. One of the ones that I really liked, this a musician Rack did an NFT auction, and when you hold these NFTs that you purchase, you get backstage access, you get VIP meet and greets, you get access to all his concerts, he's flying you out. So it's like these NFTs have like utility and value. And that's, I really, really like that.
I mean,
Then you
isn't
pivot.
this exactly the meme that Elon posted? Like, little do they know I owned NFT to this music, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So like
So
having, yeah,
cool.
that's kind of like on the other side of the spectrum. Like you have the ownership to the song. Okay, it's kind of like a utility, pseudo utility. But then on like the farthest side of the spectrum, you have crypto punks, 100 pixels selling for $7.5 million. I think the average price of a crypto punk right now is like $50,000, and there's like 6 spin-offs from it. And so that, I get it. I feel like I'm a boomer looking at Bitcoin when I'm looking at CryptoPunks. That's what it feels like to me. I'm like, where's the value? But then they're like, they're scarce, they're rare. I'm like, that doesn't give them value, but I guess it does. So, anyways, I feel like kind of like as a summary, there's this spectrum of NFTs, and when there's utility and value attached to them, I love them, and I think that that is really, really, really going to scale. Even some of these like collector, like NBA Top Shots or Hot Shots, like that's kind of on like the if you actually own the rights, or like let's say a dividend every time they play that clip, that's super cool. But then on the other side, like a $7.5 million crypto punk, I'm not too sure how sustainable that's going to be.
Correct.
For sure, it could keep going
And
up, but
I'm trying to understand the mentality. Like, it obviously baffled me when I saw these numbers, because like, I would never pay that, right? Like I said to this channel many times, right? Like, I would buy an NFT art to support some artists if it's $30, but not
right,
30 ETH. Right? I will never
right,
like. There's a big distinction there, right? And like, I did talk to the guys behind Chain Guardians, right? So I talked to Edon, and so he's a big NFT collector, and he's saying that the NFT community, especially the people who've been around for a long time, they think of this in terms of ETH, right? So they only think of ETH value, like in terms of Ethereum, rather than US dollar. So
okay,
obviously, I mean, if they entered Ethereum at $10, they're willing to spend what was, maybe $3,000 on a very exclusive rare NFT, and that turns out to be 300 Ethereum, which, if you do the math right now, right, that would go to what, like 600,000, or like 6 million. Let me see, 300 ETH, 300 ETH to USD. Like, if that's the case, that'll be at $512,000. So I can maybe see that, because like they're used to these Ethereum prices and they're used to their entry points, but it still baffles me how something like this, like a JPEG, would sell for that. But being said, of course, I mean, if this market can maintain, I'm happy for them. As long as they get the value for it. So I don't want to
yeah.
discourage them. I think it's cool. I mean, you can collect whatever you want, bro. Like.
You could have collected like 40 Teslas instead of that one JPEG. How about that? You know what I mean? Like if it's just, if they really are making the argument, which I really have a hard time believing isn't just this like pseudo virtue signal, that an ETH is always an ETH. It's like, no, an ETH clearly fluctuates in value. You can now buy like 1,000 Teslas with the same thing you bought your CryptoPunk for. I think that's a hard argument to pass off. So I don't know. I'm not too in deep. It to me it feels, because you can do so much wash trading with these NFTs. And I
Yes,
think,
that's also the
I don't know if
issue.
I don't know if
Yes.
that many people realize this, or if it's like unspoken, but I can just sell it to myself for $40,000, the CryptoPunk, and I can do that 1,000 times over from 1,000 accounts. Use Tornado Cash, and if I'm the creator of these CryptoPunks, all I need is one idiot to buy a CryptoPunk. I've just made myself 40K, and I think that that's happening quite a lot in the
That is
NFT
clapping a
space.
bit. Yes, yes. I
Yeah,
definitely think so. I definitely agree with that. Like, and also the bad habits, the bad side of the art market comes here too. Like, if you want to say, launder some money, but then, instead of like saying, you send me 200 ETH, I'll be like, oh, buy this NFT, right? So I'm
right.
sure there's like a bunch of that going on, which is quite negative for the space. But that being said, there are true collector mindsets, and I think that's, I mean, that I'll
Sure.
put that argument there, where like there are people who really do derive a lot of joy from collecting things, and I think surprisingly those people are very rich, right? Because if they were collecting Bitcoin as memorabilia, or that they had this collector mindset when it came to
Yeah,
Bitcoin or Ethereum, they'll be very well off. So I feel like that's kind of the thing here. But of course, to this audience here, I would say, like, it is a very highly speculative space. the long-term value of these NFTs have not been proven. I think that's the other thing that we
Yeah.
have to remember here is that these NFTs are like if you look at something like Pokemon cards, I mean that the market went hockey stick as well, right? What was
Right.
like a 20-cent Charizard is now being sold for $2,500 or something stupid like that, right? And then we have like collectible shoes, right? Like like this Yeezys being sold. Like I
Yeah.
feel like such a boomer because I don't do these things, but
Right.
but I know about them, but I don't do it. Okay, so but it, baseball cards, comic books. There is a collectible market for all these things, and if you described it to people, um, you know, before these things became established markets, you're like, oh, haha, 25 comic book will eventually sell for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, mint condition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like people have thought you'd be crazy, right? But
Yeah.
I think we're seeing something new here. But one distinction to make is that right now these things are getting listed for very high value, which is
Yeah,
the
and I think something really important to highlight because everyone's saying, okay, these NFTs are like art, they're like collectibles. But then you have to zoom out, and I think this is a really important point that why does art or collectibles have value? Like if we're looking at Pokemon cards, it's because it was one of the largest franchises in the world. It
mm,
spanned, it's still going. It's like a 20-year more franchise. Then you look at sports cards or like, well, it's sports. It's huge. You have the top players of the top games, and these are the rarest rookie cards in mint condition. It's like people know the NBA, they know the NFL, they know these leagues, and they have like empires around them. Even celebrities to an extent, you could say, okay, well, they have like a story behind them, and so they want to sell this NFT or a musician.
mm.
But when you're coming with a crypto punk, what's the story? What's the story? Some dude made some pixels? Like, there's no story.
I love the bash. I love the bash. Like, guys, big thumbs up for it, guys. Like, we're being very clear here. Like, this is a very fun discussion. I love this type of interaction I can discuss to this level with Jeff. So, guys, smash up those likes, share this video. This is worth discussing because, like, there is a problem when something like this is worth so much. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess congrats to anyone who did it.
You
Like, it's.
were not the last person on the game of hot potato, essentially, is how it worked out to be.
I guess so. I guess so. I mean, I think there will be something coming out of it. I think there will be some cool stuff coming out of it. I've seen
Sure.
some really good projects,
Yeah.
and I think it's good for get the public to access crypto not just from the nerdy side, but maybe from something they're very passionate about. I think that's
Yes.
also a very good element. But also, I definitely. But I don't think I need to warn people though. Like if people are willing to spend 300 ETH on a piece of art, they probably know what they're doing. Like I feel like I have the mother hen aspect of here where I need to like warn people like, oh, maybe this is a bubble. But like if you have that much money to spend on a crypto art, you know exactly what you're buying, right? So I guess I don't think I need to protect people from this because like they should know what they're getting into at that point. So I mean that's my 2 cents. I mean, I'm not gonna bash it. If you love it, you love it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, right? Go ahead.
Yeah. I think, yeah. And fair. I think though, people do need to look at like the question, why would this be sustainable? I think that's the
Mm,
biggest question. You know what I mean? And
mm,
like, you can make a real good argument why, NBA Top Shots, I think they're called.
yep.
Someone was laughing at me because I called them hot shots in the chat. But yeah, so like there's like a story behind it. It's behind a franchise.
Mm,
But a lot of these projects that are just like artistic JPEGs with no reputation, like nothing reputable behind it, no story, nothing.
yep.
It's like, sure, like if you want to play the game of hot potato or gamble, really gamble that it's going to just continue appreciating in price, that's fine. But I think I kind of like to liken it to cryptocurrency. There's a reason why Bitcoin is number one. It's slow, it's expensive, but it's number one, and that's because it has the biggest history, the biggest track
Yes.
record. That's why Nano isn't number one. So I think you got to look at these NFTs coming out and just what's the history, what's the track record?
I think so. I think so. I think the history is short. I mean, but yeah, I guess people will like it. And I'm not. I've come to a point, when I started this, I'm like, who the fuck would pay money for something I can just download for free and stick on my phone, and
Yeah.
voila, that's an NFT. But I mean, I've come to a point of acceptance where I'm like, if people want to do it, do it. Am I gonna do
Yeah.
it? Probably not. But I mean,
Yeah.
that being said, of course, not being a hypocrite, I do think I do collect anything that's like under like $30. Like I think like I'm
Okay.
like too cheap for that. Like there's some moon cats I've adopted some cats recently.
Right.
I've made my own NFTs in the past. I mean, like I issued those out, and I actually gave them out for free because I felt that was the value in it. It's like that was a part of the story, right? I was like, oh,
Right.
this was an event. I commemorated an event. I'm gonna give these out for free. I'm not gonna even auction them. I'm just gonna, like that. So I don't want to be a total hypocrite here and say, oh, I don't touch NFTs or something. But I felt like for me, that was my like disposable income to spend on something I feel like I enjoy. So I think that's kind of the criteria. It's like if you enjoy,
Hmm.
if this is a purchase that I think you are comfortable with saying, okay, I purchased this piece of art or whatever, this JPEG, and you think it's worth that much, you want to support your artist, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Recently, I mean, obviously, I've been talking to the guys at Refinable. I'm an advisor for that project, and it's an NFT marketplace. The good thing, obviously, is that it's on Binance Smart Chain. So obviously, a lot of the transactions are like way cheaper. Like you don't have to pay like tens of
Hmm.
$1,000, and I feel like that works. Having fractions of a dollar to buy something, and if you want to keep it, and then you have some more utility to it too. I think that's the key point where it's like it's quite
Yes.
about building additional utility to it. I mean, you mentioned project like music and having some sort of like backdoor access, or like you gotta. I think it's NFT plus something, and I think that really makes sense from that.
Yeah, yeah. Because one of the comments I'm seeing in the chat right now, from that 337 guy, he says, "I mean, don't people gamble on random cryptos all the time, hoping they will appreciate in value?" And so, like there's validity there, but I think you need to unpack it a little bit because different cryptocurrencies. Well, I guess I'm going to shoot myself in the foot as I talk it out, but their utility is like a transfer of value. So,
Mm.
are we now making the argument that NFTs are like a transfer of value like a cryptocurrency when the gas fees are so crazy? Yeah, it's a big topic to unpack. I feel like everyone's in the chat, they're like, you guys are boomers, and I'm like, yeah, I know, but
It's okay. It's okay.
it's
I'm fine
okay.
being a boomer. I'm fine being a
I
boomer.
think with this pseudo boomer mentality, we're still able to capture the massive upside with projects that have sustainability and are going to be around for the long haul, and still able to catch the trends, and we're not going to get burnt and left holding the bag on projects that are you know just glorified JPEGs. And so I think a lot of people are going to debate me to the death on that, but
I think so. I
I
think
think we're
we opened a can of worms here. We got Pixel Junkie says Michael and Jeff are funny. It's weird to buy a digital image, but it's totally not weird to send $60,000 on a
right.
virtual coin. I mean,
So, but let's take that statement and now kind of like expand it to the topic of NFTs, like why an NFT would have value and like the backstory that we were talking about, right? Like it has to have a history. So if you're
yes,
comparing an
yes.
NFT to Bitcoin, Bitcoin's been around for a decade, my dude. Like that has history. So show me an NFT, it's been
Well,
around
well,
for
well,
over 10
well, well,
years.
yeah, exactly. And I think Bitcoin, I mean, that's a special case where it's like it's this currency that can transfer anywhere in the world, and there's no other thing prior to Bitcoin that can do this, right? You can send it
Yeah.
from China, like you can send value from China to the States. By like right now, you can't even do that because if you want to send value out of China, you want to send it in USD. There's something called safe. So China actually prevents you from sending more than $250,000 overseas, right? So
Right.
so you're doing something very unique on Bitcoin. So I think that it cannot be done elsewhere. Like in the normal financial sector, that's not possible, right? Like you can even help your brother buy a beer. So there's value there. And I would argue to say that with a lot of the DeFi projects that I look at, the key thing I'm looking at is value, right? So like, does it change or can it improve the world in a certain way that gives it particular value? So I think that's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking for.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
but but that being said, I do know a lot of people who just buy coins because they're cool. Like
Yeah.
Dogecoin would be a primary example. It's like a funny dot, cool, right? Well, I know I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there. I'm gonna hold myself from going there. So there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's it. I think like every currency or NFT has like an ethos behind it, whether it's to be funny
Yes.
and a meme, or I think like what I think you and I both really see in
Yes.
Bitcoin. And maybe I'll just speak for myself, but it's like, when I look at the fiat system, it's terrible. It's disenfranchising to everybody around the world, and there has not been a way to opt out
Yes.
until
Correct.
Bitcoin has come. So I
Correct.
see
Correct.
Bitcoin's utility as an ability to not only opt out of an archaic,
Yes.
outdated system that's really serving an oligarchy and corporate class. It's a way to empower us and really create a currency that can scale across the world. So for the people. So, I mean, that's a cool utility. I don't know if
Hmm.
CryptoPunks do that. Maybe someone can make the argument, but so yeah.
Well, I think so. I think there's value here. I definitely think getting the audience here is good, and I think like to me, I feel like it's like affordable collectibles. At least I guess maybe it's just me expressing I'm not rich enough to buy this. Maybe it's like it's that's
It wasn't
maybe
you who
like
bought the Beeple one, hey?
of course it's me. It was me, guys. I'm the real Satoshi, right? So, but I feel like maybe it is me complaining that I'm being priced out at this current point. But I definitely don't feel like I can afford to buy a Beeples at this current point. But I think I learned this year. If people have fun doing this, enjoy it, right? Like go have
Right.
fun. Nothing wrong with it. And if we can build a whole entire ecosystem, because the way I kind of see it is now, I definitely feel like there's now sufficient use cases for NFT plus. The idea of not just for art, but like NFT plus a video game, or NFT
Yes.
plus like the melding, making sure that the art is authentic, right? Authenticating something,
Yes.
right? I think this idea of this NFT plus really makes sense, and I feel like that's
Yeah.
what we're gonna see these cycles of, right? We see some DeFi cycles, we're gonna see some NFT cycles, we're gonna see some Bitcoin rally cycles, major cycles, or forgotten coin cycles. I feel like now NFT is like it's solidified itself to become one of the crypto cycles that we see and experience in this space.
Yeah. And because you've been such a loud advocate for Engine, for
Yes.
years now. And,
Yes, dude. I'm
finally
so
Engine is having
toxic,
its
right?
day.
The
Dude.
toxic engine supporter. Like
So
Jeff.
hats off to you for sticking with that one.
Holy
Because
fuck me,
but
man. That
that's
was
a great
insane.
example of NFT plus, where you're
Yes.
like fusing it with
Yes.
video games. This thing has utility, it's tradable.
Yes.
It's that I really, really like. And I really hope and I think would make the world literally, well, not like a better place in like this kind of kumbaya way, but it would make the world a better place in like the ability to transfer value, in a digital economy exponentially. So yeah, I agree with you 100% on that.
And I feel like we're so grounded here. Like I really love this discussion. So I think that's kind of wrapping up our NFT discussion, guys. Feel free to join in. I think we'll definitely make a clubhouse session one day, like boomers talk about NFTs.
Yeah.
Like we'll shake our fists violently, but
Right.
deep down inside, but I think there is something here. But I'm definitely looking for that NFT plus. I think I'm going to leave it at there. But okay, let's talk a little bit about TrustSwap. I mean, the platform is doing phenomenal. It's one of the most aggressive teams that's developing at this current point. I guess for people who are watching, maybe for people who haven't heard about what TrustSwap is, you're the CEO of TrustSwap. Why don't we take it from the horse's mouth? What is it first? Okay, we'll start with the most basic one, and we'll talk a little bit about developments and everything going on.
For sure, yeah. So TrustSwap is essentially it's a DeFi ecosystem. So we deal a lot with different token payments, transactions of value, ways that you can securely store value,
Mm,
transact with it. And so that obviously ties into different how you can launch projects. So we of course have a
mm,
launch pad. It's essentially like the token economy. It's we're talking about NFT plus. We're like PayPal plus. We
mm,
do transactions, but then we also add like a ton of different customizations that you can do. And then one of the things that people are really excited about, of course, right now is the launch pad, where if you stake 4,000 swap, you get guaranteed allocations to these launch pads that roll through. I think the
mm.
average ROI on these launch pads currently is around a 13x. So people are really pleased with that. We're working on a few things that we're launching. So like one of the big things, we have a website called team.finance. This is
Mm,
token locks and liquidity locks. So if
mm.
a project creates a bunch of tokens and they put their liquidity on Uniswap, they can secure that in a
Yes.
smart contract, so that they're not going to sell that. That adds a layer of security. Currently we have just under $1 billion locked on there, which is I think the top might be the top 20 in crypto actually now, which is pretty good. And then
Congrats, dude.
something that,
Like
thank
I
you.
saw team doc I saw team, right? And I was like, wow, like the interface looks great. Like obviously full disclosure, I'm an advisor for TrustSwap. So it's kind of like patting myself on the back here, but I'm definitely gonna pat Jeff on the back here and say, dude, like it looks fantastic, right? The interface, the UI looks amazing. It's super simple to use, super understandable on how to use it. I feel like this is something that's super necessary in this space, and I feel like a lot of people, when it stands testament to something that I said very early, which is like Jeff builds fast, right? Like it's very, very impressive. I definitely want to say, like moving fast in the space really matters, right? And TrustSwap started off just with payment sending, right? But
Hmm.
Launchpad came out, TrustSwap Launchpad, where people can get into new projects. Then the token lock system, you have $1 billion locked. I mean, dude, like how insane is that, right? Like, for any traditional financial institution to say, yo, we locked $1 billion under our system, like
Within the
that,
first 9 months of operation. It's
like
kind of
I,
crazy.
like how like this is the craziest part about decentralized finance, and I think a lot of people still don't see it. I think it's that
Hmm.
that's kind of the, I guess, the boomer moment for people, right? Like I guess if there are boomers watching, they're like, what the hell is going on here? Like how is this even real, right? But that is the case. There's finance is being locked. It's because it's important, because people are requesting for this, right? Because there's
Yeah.
so much like room to scam in the space, where projects, they create this new coin, they hype it up, and then they just like dump it, rug pull on people,
Yeah.
right? That quote of where they just completely destroy the entire market, run away with the cash, and you provide a safety lock for them, right? And that's why value is being
Yeah.
locked there, is because people, not just projects, people are requesting this to be used, right?
Yeah.
So that's being developed, and very, very ambitious roadmap. What's coming up? What's coming next for TrustSwap?
Yeah. So what's coming next is actually, it kind of touches on the point that, about like the scams and the rug pulls, because obviously token locks and liquidity locks, like they
Mm,
help. They're like a seatbelt in a car, it's gonna help in a crash, but it's not gonna prevent somebody from dying.
mm,
What we're coming out with next, it's really incredible, actually. How should I start to preface this? So with token locks and liquidity locks, somebody could still mint more tokens. There could be a contract exploit. So there's still ways that they could,
mm,
rug or scam, even with these two
mm,
token locks and liquidity locks. So the question became, well, how do we prevent contract exploits, whether it's intentionally internal or external? And how do we prevent minting of extra tokens? Because we
mm,
don't want to just check the code. We don't want to become auditors. That's not scalable. So we created kind of like a trifecta inside security and launching tokens cross chain. This is going to be happening on every single blockchain, well, or the major ones at least. So what it is we're introducing a fully customizable and fully pre-audited token generator.
mm,
So if you want to create a token with whatever supply, whatever metrics, whatever staking, whatever rebase, come in, create it. It's 100% free to do. Then you lock the tokens, you lock the liquidity. Well, so now you have a token that is fully audited. So you've just saved yourself 30K on the audit. You
mm.
saved yourself 2 weeks. You probably saved yourself $20,000 on development fees. You probably saved yourself 2 weeks on development time. So you saved yourself like 40 grand. You saved
A
yourself a
lot
month
more,
of time.
especially if it's cross chain. That's a lot more. 2 weeks is not gonna get you a cross chain token.
Well, so the
Uh,
cross chain compatibility, just to double to double click on that. When you mint your token, it like the token itself won't be like cross chain. You'll be able to mint,
mm,
like you'll be like, hey, listen, I want to mint like 30% on ETH, 30% on
mm,
BNB, and then 30% on Cardano, let's say. Like
mm.
you'll have that capability, but you'll still have to like build. We don't have the bridges built yet.
Okay, right, right.
So like that's how it kind of works cross chain. But yeah, 100%, man. It's going to be really crazy because essentially we feel that we've removed all of the major technical exploits from creating a token. We've made it 100% free to do, and it's
Mm,
cross chain. So kind of we're thinking like, well, we expect that this is going to just explode across crypto because now it's kind of like NFTs. Anybody can create an NFT. Now
mm,
anybody can create a crypto, and they can transparently in the dashboard show that it's essentially tokens locked, no mint, fully audited. And so it's like, well, we just increased the security across crypto, and I actually see this really increasing the utility across these scalable blockchains, like whether it's Binance Smart Chain or Polkadot or Avalanche, because they don't have many apps, many tokens, many users. But now if people can start minting tokens for
Yes.
free and instantly, it's going to absolutely explode. And then just the final thing before I'll just to kind of finish the rant off, but anytime somebody mints the token, there's really only like one pseudo fee, and that's we take 0.4% of the total supply and we put it in a farming pool. And it's a 30-day farming pool, and people can then stake swap to farm that token. So every token that's generated, you can farm for free.
So it's auto
with
community
swap.
building. It's auto community
Exactly,
building.
man.
Right. So that's the value for the token holder. So so you do distribute it to people. So it might sound like quite a lot, but giving that to community makes sense. So that's actually pretty cool. That's a really good idea. I think that's I think that's like a lot of projects, I think they struggle to do this. So I think this is something that people are being faced with right now. Like they want to have cheaper fees, but at the same time, Ethereum is quite expensive. So being able to have this like cross platform token and having that transparency is smart. So when's that going live? When's happening that?
Yeah, that one's going to be live end of April on ETH, and then probably shortly thereafter on Binance Smart Chain and Algorand as well. Because Avalanche. My mistake. Avalanche. Yeah, and then of course, obviously, we have Swappable. That's our NFT marketplace, and that should be coming out mid-month, so in about 20 days from now.
Man, how do you get these developers, man? Like how why so fast, sir? Why so fast, sir?
Yeah, no, I know it's fun to build quickly, and when you have a solid team, then it's not more work, because then you just start segmenting your team into little branches. So we have a Swappable team, we have a Smart Launch team, we have kind of like a generalist team that's working on a whole bunch of different stuff, and then we have project managers for each one. So it scales really nicely.
Nice.
It's fun. It keeps our roadmap like really robust.
Yes.
Yeah, we're enjoying it. We're definitely scaling. We're hiring a lot lately. So
nice.
Actually, if anyone listening wants to hop into crypto, head to cryptojobslist.com, and you'll see probably a few posts from TrustSwap looking to hire for different positions. So yeah.
Direct access to Jeff, guys. Direct access to Jeff. So
yeah, we were talking about going full-time crypto. There you go.
Crypto has jobs, man, and that's a great way to start. Get access, get exposure, get a good understanding, man. It's crazy. So, all right, so that's happening on TrustSwap. But what else is happening in life? Well, what are you excited on? Like, what's happening with everything else?
In terms of other projects, well, I mean, I'm sure everyone's kind of looking for like, the next little gem. So I won't go too wide. I'm just going to talk about one right now, because I mentioned a lot of other ones previously when we've hopped on. This is one that I just signed on as an advisor in business development. And so what this project does is, we all know Travala. You can buy, trips with cryptocurrency. Some of us might know shopping.io. You can buy on Walmart, eBay, Amazon with cryptocurrency. And this new project called Curate, ticker is XCUR, sorry. They are essentially combining both of those, and in addition, integrating a peer-to-peer marketplace. So you can do peer-to-peer trades for goods and services with crypto, and they have a mobile app for it as well. And it's still very new. If you check out the chart and the value on CoinMarketCap, and then you compare it to something like Travala or something like shopping.io, I think people will like the asymmetric risk reward ratio there. And obviously I'm working with the Curate team, and so I have a good insight on their work ethic, and it's very, very good.
So
and lots of crazy stuff
right? XCUR?
XCUR should be Curate, would be like a little black square logo, I believe.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Curate style. That sounds interesting. So it's like what, peer to peer, so you can like enter. So wait, Curate I see right now is NFT marketplace only, or is it how does that work? Sorry, just
no. So they it's certainly not just an NFT marketplace. No. So yeah, discover. So the wording on the website, I'm going to write this down. This should be updated, because it's a marketplace for everything where you can purchase with crypto. So NFTs are part of it, and it looks like this isn't. Yeah, you're right. It's not expressed well enough on the kind of like the hero section of the landing page. So I'll
Mhm.
chat with them. We'll get that updated. But yeah, it's essentially like if you want to transact for anything with crypto, whether it's peer to peer or whether it's through a third party like eBay, Amazon, Walmart, Alibaba, Curate is where you're going to be able to do it. So we're talking about earlier, adding utility with Bitcoin, where you can now buy Tesla with it. Well, now you can purchase literally almost anything with cryptocurrency. So this for me is like, I like it a lot because it really helps the kind of like the rhetoric of adoption. Well, what's the utility for these magic internet coins? Well, you can literally buy shit with it now, and pretty much anything,
Magic, and
anywhere.
you can re-speculate that too, right? Which is kind of
That's right.
interesting. There's a peer to
Yeah.
peer afterwards, so you're like, well, maybe I don't want a Tesla, but I can sell my pre-order for my Tesla, like as an NFT. Maybe that could be interesting. So
Maybe. Yeah.
I definitely see that happening, man. I definitely see like this kind of secondary marketplace. Like I'm just trying to wrap my head around it because I feel like that's super interesting, right? Like these NFTs
Yeah.
can represent individual things, and like I was like kind of like talking with Labs. So Labs is the real estate project we're looking at, and using NFTs to represent a special purpose vehicle or some sort of contract that has ownership of property, right? That is actually
Right.
quite interesting.
Yes.
This creates the ability to have a much wider marketplace for something that is very that never really had that marketplace before. So not just property, but like there was this idea of like why can't you make like NFT pigs? I know that sounds like super
Right.
stupid, right? But like but it actually started making sense because like this NFT can represent this pig, right?
Right.
And there's actually a giant industry. I'm not a real life farmer, but something that I kind of identified, which is very important that's happening right now, is that there's a very big lack of pigs in China. This is something that like if you're in China and you do business, you know what's happening because they had to slaughter a lot of pigs due to this virus that was running around and killing the pigs, and it turned out that because the Chinese population they love eating pigs, pig prices went up, and they were trying to find ways to increase the breeding process, and one of the ways they did this was by buying these breeder pigs that would breed more pigs and then ship them off to China. So like obviously this is far in the future, right? Obviously there's no
Hmm.
project that can do this now, but I think this idea of whether you can like say you can buy a breeder pig and then you can speculate on these assets and be able to trade on these assets and take apart like this empathy represents this particular breeder, you get the profits of the future sales. Obviously there's a lot of hurdles to overcome, but I can definitely see that happening, right? I'll be like, yo, Jeff, like check out my pig, like that this NFT is no longer just an art, right? But this NFT's got statistics on how many additional pigs it's bred in the past. Like it
Yeah.
sounds like a joke, but it makes sense, right?
No.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, like it's got a history of like producing top of the line pigs. And now this is an asset I own and it's tradable, right? And I can be like, yo, I can show that pig to you, but like, yo, check out my pig.
Yeah.
Um, you want to buy that, or we can have two pigs, right? I don't know, like
Yes.
there's something there.
No.
There's something there. You just need to kind of connect that.
No, 100%. I think like at a high level, you're talking about the tokenization of assets and whether
Yes.
like it's really big assets, going into fungible ERC20 tokens for a real estate property, or whether it's, individual items that are, probably priced below like $100,000 that are individual and unique, which are probably more, relevant for NFTs, or maybe higher than $100,000 depending on people's bankroll. Um, but I think, one of the guys in the comments mentioned, he had a good comment. Let me try to find it. But I can't find it. But essentially, the comment was like, the problem is the custodianship of this. Like for example, you own this pig for let's say it's a beautiful pig. It bench presses 500 pounds. It can run a 3-second 40-yard dash. But then the farmer like accidentally kills it. Well, how do you and so like that's tough. And so it works for things like artwork. And then if you have like,
No,
different
well,
like
if it's a pig, sorry, too bad, it dead now, right? It'll be like you open the NFT
right.
app, sorry, it died, like rip, right? Okay, that's not
Sorry,
it's
I
not a
ate
good
it.
joke. Yeah, sorry, rip, right? But I mean, okay, like obviously there's kinks to work this out, right? Like this
Yeah.
is not a like a full blown project. I'm not trying to show anything, right? I think that's important to discuss. This is just like a hypothetical situation that I found was kind of very interesting to just talk
Yeah.
about. But yeah, but I
Yeah.
think yeah, there is that loss. I think now that NFT is just a memory of the pig that you once had.
Right.
But but it could have been good while it lasted. Obviously there's issue with custodianship, but um, like working out these barriers, I think is going to be the objective for the next 5-10 years. I don't think it's going to be
Yes.
achieved these few years, like these few weeks or these few months, but I feel like this is something that can be achieved in the future, and I think like that's something that's quite interesting because like if that would blow up a lot of markets because we know we have commodities markets, right? We know that's been traded like rice commodities and you have like futures on oil. Like this stuff is vastly traded right now, but there's definitely no like individual pig or individual like shoe or something like yet again
Yeah.
like there was this talk about like if say this NFT represents a shoe, right? Like I know these like Yeezys are being traded like crazy, but if this represents a shoe at a warehouse, you can still create this market for it, which
Sure.
blockchain you do it for it's super easily, and this represents a particular size of shoe, like this particular like it's like a size 9.5 Yeezys, manufactured
Hmm.
this style. This is the photograph
Right.
of it, and then now you can trade it until the final person wants to cash out. They want to like get it delivered to their house. Then they click the button, the warehouse ships it to them. Like that could be an interesting use case for the
Yes.
NFT. So yeah, I mean there's still a lot of hurdles to overcome. I feel like it's not my position right now to solve all these problems. I feel like this is where the opportunity of the space is. I saw I saw someone in the chat say press F for the poor piggy. We just slaughtered a poor piggy, but yes,
May
it
his
could
life
be.
live on in an NFT.
Yeah, man, it's life live on in an NFT, man. That's gonna be interesting. So I guess I should say we should start wrapping up now.
Yeah.
It's been an hour. Should we take some questions from the audience? Like maybe we'll do a 5-10 minutes of questions.
Yeah. Sounds
And
good.
then we'll do so, guys. Shoot some questions down below. I really want to make this as interactive as possible. If you guys did like the stream, I love these streams because it's a very casual time to talk. I feel like it's one of those times I can just relax and chat with people, and Jeff is definitely one of those people that I can relax and talk with. Um, and I definitely need to work out. Like every time I see Jeff, because Jeff used to be my gym partner, right? So like every day, we'll be like, oh man, I have to go to the gym because Jeff's going, and that was a motivation. So, um, you know, yeah. So you just ask away questions, man. Jeff, like, definitely, like, I'm reminded I should work out tomorrow. I'll be inspired. Are you working out, dude?
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you?
Well, we
Are
got to get you to Canada, man. This is the healthy
yeah.
lifestyle paradise. We both know you're coming out soon enough, so
Soon
we'll
enough.
just get
Soon
ready.
enough.
Yeah, pretty soon your shoulders aren't gonna be able to fit in your screen. You're gonna have to zoom out your camera a little bit. Yeah, exactly, man.
That's the spirit. That's the spirit. Okay, so
Sensei.
we still have a few questions about Uptrend. So I guess
Sure.
Jeff also runs Uptrend. So what's happening on there? What's going on?
Totally. So I did a very, very, very big spiel about it on a recent live stream on one of the
Mm-hmm.
Axion live streams.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys want to kind of, in the interim, kind of check out the updates on X. I'm not going to do the spiel right now. It's a 5-minute spiel at least, so I'll save the time. But long story short, you can check out that, or within the next 5 days, we're going to have a really big announcement update. There's going to be a big pivot for Uptrend, a big change. Long story short, more news coming. Everyone who holds tokens is going to be done right by. It's going to be a net positive for the ecosystem, bottom line. So yes, that's kind of the summary. I'll leave it at
All right,
that.
check that out. Check out the other streams. Okay, so check out the other streams. Okay, we got Elijah Killen says favorite Rick and Morty episode. That's a good
Oh,
question. That's a good question.
I mean, the one that you just always hear about that just always pops into your head is the Pickle Rick, but I don't know if that's the favorite one. What's your favorite? While you talk about it, maybe I'll think of another one.
I'm thinking. Like Rick and Morty, I always think of Szechuan sauce. Szechuan sauce, if
Yeah.
you want to say it in American. I don't know that the episode of that sauce on it, and I'm gonna hate myself for saying this, but episodes with Birdman, I kind of hate him. I
Oh
love
my
him.
God.
Toxic characters like that. I don't know, man. It's okay. I know which one I like. I know which one I like. There was an intergalactic episode where there's like these the Vindicators, and the Vindicators assembled, and it turned out that they assembled for nothing, and then they were in like Rick's trap. I think that episode was like freaking amazing. I don't know, like that.
Right. I think one of my favorite moments, and I forget the guy's name, and if I'm wrong on this, I'm going to sound like an idiot. But I think his name is like Mr. Poopy Bumhole or something.
Okay.
And anyways, he's like this like blue guy, and they were going around, and like there was like all these infiltrators, like people were like just like spawning, and they had to find like who the imposters were, and and the signal was, if you were overly nice, you were an imposter. If you had never done anything mean, you're an imposter, and so you had to be shot. And so they shoot this one guy, and then he starts dying, and it turns out he's not an imposter, and he just goes, "I'm sorry for being nice." He just dies.
That's so Canadian. That's so Canadian, Jeff.
There we go.
That's your Canadian heritage going through. All right. Oh man, I need to watch some more TV, man. All right. Okay. So there was a question about top of market. So this is from Glimber Juniana says, where do you see the crypto market at the end of this year, Jeff? Ooh.
Well, at the end of the year, that's a great question. It's
do
so
you want to
hard
put your
predict
dick on it?
these
I mean,
things.
that's just John McAfee thing to do,
Yeah, that's
right?
right. That's right.
Like if you're wrong, you'll lose your dick.
Let's put it this way. We'll play gun to the head. You have to be within $10,000, and you have to make a guess right now.
Holy
for January
shit.
1st, 2022.
Oh man.
I'm gonna go. Oh, this is such a BS thing. I think it's gonna go higher, then have a huge consolidation, and then have a
Yes.
slow run up. So
Right.
I think we might be around like 30, 35. I'm gonna say 35 by January 1st, 2022.
So grounded, Jeff. So grounded, Jeff.
I know it's a boring guess. I don't know. What do you think?
All right. So we remember that. Like, all right, the chat remembers. This is a pair. You know, if this is a choose your own story, the chat will remember this. 35K, right, Jeff? Okay.
I think it's gonna go higher first.
Yeah, I think so. So, 35K. All right. I'll be a bit more optimistic. All right. I definitely also agree with you that we're still seeing the rally. So, I mean, we've seen those charts, right, where the most famous one is the rainbow chart. I kind of keep bringing that on this channel, and you kind of see like it's a logarithmic chart, and like we're kind of in the middle of this run up zone right now. If we run up and we hit the top of this, that's gonna be 120K, and then I kind of feel like that's gonna happen like June, July-ish. And then, yes, I definitely agree that, as with everything, it's going to pull back. So it could be possible that after 120K, we could pull back to the previous all-time high of Bitcoin. I think a lot of people, that's like the obvious answer, right? But I do think we kind of recover. I think we're actually going to be above it. So let me be a little bit more optimistic than you. I'll put at 75K. 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 January 1st. I'm pretty optimistic still. I feel like even if we take a fall here, right? Even if we take a fall here, even after running up to that high and take a fall, I still feel that Elon's just gonna buy the dip. Like Elon's gonna buy the dip. He's gonna go there and he's gonna buy the dip. So that's gonna be a possibility. And it's gonna be moving back up towards the January times. It's January's after the Chinese New, not the Chinese New Year. It's January's after December, right? So that's after everyone goes, and after holidays we've seen movements up. So maybe, and then maybe it's just gonna sit here.
And my guess isn't because I don't think there's going to be a lot of really good adoption and like institutions coming into Bitcoin. My guess is so low because I think retail is so overly emotional. And when it goes down, they just hands in the air. Like retail is incredibly emotional, and I think that's going to really spiral things to take a hit for a bit. But we'll see. I'm going to put in my calendar. You say 75, I say 35. It'll just be a it'll be a gentleman's bet. Let's see what happens.
All right, all right, all right, and yeah, let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens. But I definitely feel like I definitely feel like a lot of people aren't prepared for dips. I think that's it. Like I definitely feel like you're super grounded in that sense, where you tell people exactly what it is at, right? Like
Hmm.
there's a lot of emotion coming into retail. I feel like every time there was a dip on the market, people freak the hell out or
Yeah.
lose interest, which is the most dangerous, right? Like that's like the prime buying time. Like why would you lose interest?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and then you see like when things go up, all these YouTubers pop up out of nowhere, and then they're like, oh my god, I'm like a fucking wizard, right? But are
Right.
you? Are you like?
Exactly.
I've been producing shit throughout the entire bear market, right? When no one gave a crap. And that was when I
Hmm.
accumulated. It was very clear what I was doing. And then now you come in like during the bull market, like, oh, I made money. Like, did you? Did you really? But
Yeah, you're
anyways,
certainly seeing a lot more trading algorithms pop up in a bull
oh my
market. Oh,
God.
we're so profitable with our trading algorithm. It's like, no, my man, that's just the market itself. Like
Yes.
everyone's a
Correct.
genius in the bull market.
Correct, correct. I think that is true. And then, I've got scammed by people in the past pretending to be genius traders, and then they'll do something insanely stupid. But yeah, that's a story for another time. Like
Hmm.
I fell into that trap of listening to other people. Like it was very quite early on in my space where like, oh, maybe these guys are good at trading because that's not their entire job, and then it turned out to way underperform. So I feel like
Yeah.
it's one of those things you definitely fall victim to at first, where you feel like you can beat the market, but the real way to beat the market is to
Get in on launch
uh
pads.
getting launch pads or that, and then also of course just like having a good wide scope of things.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think that worked pretty well. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this session. Thank you so much, Jeff, sir, for coming in.
Oh,
Definitely keep us
pleasure,
updated.
man.
Yep.
For sure. Of
And
course.
yeah, there's just always that little tiny delay when we talk, but yeah, thank you so much for coming in. Hope this session was really helpful for you guys. Smash the likes, and also guys, like, if you guys want to check out TrustSwap, definitely check it out. The roadmap is freaking amazing. And also, yeah, just everything else that we talked about here. We're gonna put out comments as well if you have questions with Jeff. You really, I definitely saw that you read comments here, and we'll hope to have another one of these soon. So guys, thumbs up to that. Thank you guys. See you guys soon.